So let's start with process modeling. It is a long journey to do a modeling for this UCM. So let's start with assumption. So the material removal rate is directly dependent on volume of work material per impact. Volume of work material per impact of that abrasive particle. MRR is dependent on frequency of tool, the frequency of vibration of the tool. MRR is dependent on the number of abrasive particles making impact per cycle. So if I have only single abrasive particle, it will do less machining. If I have 10, it will have more change on the material removal. All impacts are identical, that's assumption, and all abrasive grains are identical and spherical in shape. So this is a grain which is shown, the diameter is D. This is D by 2 radius, and it is making a depth of the material crater which is has height h, and on the surface I can see a diameter of d. So rho q, that is volume removed, will be directly dependent on z, v and mu. Z is the number of abrasives in contact at that time, that is the density or concentration type of factor. Mu is the frequency of vibration, that is the ultrasonic frequency. So let's, and V is the volume of what I'm going to remove. So D by 2, so this is coming from the geometry itself. And the conclusion is, just by using trigonometry, that my D, the diameter of that circular impact, is approximately 2 square root of D into H. The small d and h are shown over here, and the capital D is this. So that volume removed is a factor or dependent on the d cube, and hence just taking that into account, so v will be dh whole raised to 3 by 2, and hence my q will be dh whole raised to 3 by 2 into z into v. Now to take the time taken to do machining or the vibration, so we know that it's going to take one cycle. So t by 4, in t by 4 time, it will come from that one extreme to midpoint, from t by 4 another t by 4 from midpoint to the other extreme on the work side, and that's the motion. So only for some time, that is some small amount of time, it is going to have a contact with tool, a workpiece surface, and it is going to make an impact on in that much time itself. So the total force which is going to impart will be in one time period 0 to t, the integration of ft dt, and ft is the impulse or the impact and impact force. So f will be 1 by time period into 1 by 2, that is the triangular pulse which I'm assuming. So the height into delta t, distance by 2, and a is the amplitude of oscillations. So my velocity will be distance by time, that is amplitude is the distance covered, and the time taken. So amplitude is the distance covered, this is the amplitude, one amplitude, so that is the distance covered, and the time taken is t by 4. So I have just taken that. So velocity is 4a by t, and the velocity will be h by a delta t. So this is the velocity of the tool. The tool is vibrating at and the distance covered and the time taken is this. And for when the tool is hitting the job, the distance covered is h, that is the depth of the material removed, and delta t is the time taken. So this small delta t time. So, and we want to equate those two velocities. So 4a by t is equal to h by delta t. So I get the value of delta t from there. Now I'm going to take h is equal to hw plus ht. That is the total removed. So hw is the height height from the workpiece side and height from the tool side. We have added those two, and we have got the value of f now. So I've just substituted the delta t in the original equation to get the total force. So I get the total force in terms of the workpiece parameters, the amplitude, area, time period. So this time period will get cancelled. So this is the final equation for the Fi maximum, or the maximum impact force which is coming, 8 Fa upon Hw plus Ht. The force per grain will be the total force I have, impact force divided by the number of grains which are impacted. So the area of indentation on work is pi square by pi d square, that is the diameter of that indentation on the work side, and that should be approximately equated to pi d and hw. That is the height from the workpiece side, and this d is the diameter of the grain which is coming. So this is done by some approximation. The proof is not required. The maximum stress on work, maximum stress will be force upon area. That was the force per, this was the force, uh, let me use the pen. So this was the force per grain, and this was the area per grain. So I've done that and got the stress, maximum stress on work. How is this maximum? Because I'm taking the maximum impact energy. Now I've made some changes. So HW is the height of indentation or work, and HT is the height of indentation on tool. So I've just substituted Fi max by F into A and whatever we have derived earlier also. So that's all we have. So A is the area of vibration, Z is the number of grains per impact. So I've got that formula for stress. Now the stress on the work is equivalent to the hardness of the workpiece. So we'll substitute it by that and use it to get the MRR. So the MRR is hidden over here, and we'll derive that MRR from there. So in MRR, we needed the H value in that formula. So that H value which was required for MRR, that is the volume removed, the H value. So we are going to use this stress equation to get that H value. That's the purpose of doing this all thing. So lambda is the ratio of indentation, that is indentation depth on tool upon indentation depth on work. So lambda is this value HW by HT. They should be HW by HT. They are not the stress. They can be stress also. They can be stress, because stress and height will be equivalent, but these are the indentation depth. So they should be correctly the H values. So HW by HT, and rho W will be 8 FA. So I've just used this same equation again and made the change, the required change, and introduce lambda over here there. So this is the lambda. So this is the final equation for the stress. The hardness of work, which I said earlier, HW is equivalent to the stress on the work. So I just replace it by that, and HW comes over here, and I'm going to take HW square, that is height of indentation on work on that side, and take the hardness on the denominator. So I've got the HW square, so I can get HW actually. And let's now so we have got one of the factor H from the Q equation. So the Q equation had D, H, Z, and the frequency. Frequency is directly known. The diameter of the abrasive abrasives, the height. So height we have figured out. Now we want to figure out the concentration. So that concentration, the number of jet particles, not the concentration. So it is dependent on the concentration and the diameter. Concentration upon area. So C is the concentration of the abrasive slurry. Concentration with respect to the water or air stream which we are using. So Z will be some constant psi times C by D square. And when we substitute that Z over here, HW will be something like this. So HW square is this, or HW is the square root of that HW square. So this is the final equation for HW. Now we can substitute that in Q equation, and we have got, so DH raised to 3 by 2 into Z into the frequency is this finally. And we have substituted Z with rho, the psi C by D square. The frequency is as it is, and DH cube is D into this is the whole H raised to 3 by 2. So this is 3 by 2 factor directly. And now I can factor out all the different things and remove all the constants which are there. So I'm taking psi, phi, the pi, 8, this all as constant, lambda, everything. So these are the factors which I can control and control the machining which is happening. So area, diameter, and these are all non-linear terms, you must remember. So we'll see that this non-linearity is actually seen when we do the machining also. So except frequency, Q has non-linearity. So except frequency, it has non-linear relation with A, D, F, C, and HW. So hardness, concentration, farad, frequency, diameter, everything. So except frequency, it has non-linear terms. And we can stop over here, or let's take a case of actual abrasive material or actual abrasive particle which is non-spherical in case, non-spherical, or there are some projections on it. So the dotted line shows the approximated spherical surface, and the actual is the continuous line. So actual impact by small part of the abrasive. Let's say this is the part which is making the impact. So this is the only part which is going to make that impact. So it is characterized by some diameter d1, and that is going to make the end impact. So mathematically d1 is proportional to d square, or d1 is equal to some mu times d square. So mu value if not given, we can take it as 1, but do not take uh, it absolutely. The dimensions won't match, so we want just the value of that, the numerical value of d1. So this side will be obviously mm square or centimeter square, and this is centimeter. So you can say these are not matching, but do not do that. Do not use your brain over here. It is just the numerical value which I'm getting the estimate from there. So hw square will be, I want to substitute that d in the formula which I have used everywhere by di, and that's the change. So q will now be d h raised to 3 by 2 zw, z into frequency. I have replaced d by d1 and h by hw. So the new expression of q, new will have new expression of hw, or which I have explained over here, the change. And what doesn't change is the z value. So the z had psi c upon d square. The diameter of the abrasive is not changing, so we did not use the d1 over here. The d1 is only coming in case of the impact which is happening. The concentration is still with respect to the original diameter of the abrasive, the approximated spherical one. In the next video, we'll start with the details of inference from the expression of nonlinear expression for volume removed with respect to the other factors we have got. So we'll stop over here. Thank you.